Chodesh. What are we learning from that case? So we answer, you might have thought that you're not allowed to be Machal Shabbos misafek. Reb Neirai didn't necessarily know if this person that lived in Usha was actually there for Shabbos. Maybe he went away to his in-laws for Shabbos and he wasn't there. So it could be that he would have traveled on Shabbos for naught. Kamashmal, the Chiddush is, even though it's a suffix, even though the person might not be there for Shabbos, even though your Eidos might not be accepted, there might not be another person there, you still are able to be Machal Shabbos to vouch for an Eid's validity. And more about believing people for Kiddush HaChadesh, Ki Asa Ula, when Ula came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Amar, he said, Kinshul Liyarcham Rava, they were Mekadesh l'Chadesh in Eretz Yisrael. Now Amar Rav Kahani, he said, Lami Baya Ula Degava Rabahu Damahamin, for sure Ula, he's a great man, of course he's believed. Elafilu Inish Alma, even just a regular person whom we don't know, Nami Mahaman, he's also believed to say that they were Mekadesh l'Chadesh. My time, why is that? If Bezdin wouldn't accept his Eidos that he saw the new moon, so why is it that we would accept his Eidos to say that they were Mekadesh it already? That's because Kol Milsa Davidu Legluye, something which is going to be revealed anyway, everyone's going to eventually find out when Rosh Chodesh was, so Lei Meshakri Ba'inchi, a person's not going to lie about that because we're going to find out about it anyway. And Tainami Hachav, we have a brass like this, a person comes from the other end of the world, he's a complete stranger, he's a random guy, and he comes and says, V'amar Kitchu Bezin Chodesh, the Bezin was Mekadesh Chodesh, now when he's believed, because we're going to end up finding out when Rosh Chodesh is anyway, so we don't have to suspect that he's lying. And we had said in Mishnah, originally they would accept Eidus HaChadesh from everyone, but then the Baisusim started messing things up, so then we have to make sure that we know the people that are coming to give Eidus for Kiddush HaChadesh. And Tonar we have a brayso, Ma Kilkul HaBaisusim. What exactly did the Baisusim mess up? So Pam Achas, one time, Bikshu Baisusim has the Chachamim, they wanted to trick the Chachamim, and they wanted to establish Rosh Chodesh on a day that the moon was not seen. The moon wasn't seen on the 29th day, and therefore they wanted to send false Eidim to Bezdin, saying that actually the moon was seen. So what did they do? They hired two false witnesses for 400 zuz. Each one got 200. One of them was theirs. One of them was a real Baisusi, but one of them they didn't know was actually ours. He was unzur. He was actually a good guy. Theirs, he was the Baisusi. He went, gave his edus, and he left. Shalanu, our aid, meaning the good one. Amrulay, they asked him. Amar Kate said, tell us, how did you see the moon? So Amr Lahem, he told him, I was going up Maladumim, and I saw the moon. Shehu Ravat's been base slime. It was crouching in between two rocks. Rosh Egel, its head looked like a calf. Uzn of Demiligdi, its ears looked like a goat. Karn of Demisletzvi, its horns looked like a deer. Uznavi Munachas Loy Ben Yarchaisav, its tail was in between its thighs. Vitzatzti by, and I looked at it, Tati, and I was surprised. And I fell backwards. And if you don't believe this description of mine, I actually have 200 zuz inside my cloak to prove that that's a true testimony. Basically, he was telling them that I was hired to give false testimony. So Amrullah, they asked him, who got you involved in this? Like, what inspired you to come and try to save the day over here? So Amrullah, he told them, I heard the Baisusim wanted to trick the Chamim. So Amarti, I said, I'm going to go and tell them, offer my services to them, that I'll be one of their quote-unquote false witnesses. Perhaps someone else who's not fitting is going to come along and trick the Chachamim. So therefore, I decided to come. I was going to be the Bezdin's inside man and help out. So Amrullah, the Bezdin, told him, that 200 zuz that you were paid, you're actually allowed to keep it. It's a gift. Even though in truth you didn't fulfill your mission, so technically you shouldn't be paid, since we know that Bezdin is able to kanas people with a certain fine if they want to. So it's like they kanased the other aid, took the 200 away from him and gave it to this one. And the one that hired you, he should be stretched out over the post, meaning he should get malchus. And Ba'isa Shah, it was that time that his skinu shleim kalbim elam namakirim, the Bezdin established that we're only to accept Eidos for Kiddush HaChadesh from people that we know and that we recognize. And continuing in this vein, the Mishnah says, Barashayna, originally, they used to wave torches in order to notify everyone when Rosh Chodesh was. But once the Kusim started messing things up, and they were waving torches when they shouldn't be, so then Bezdin established that Shluchim were sent out, and then they had a document that was signed and sealed by Bezdin, and then they were able to tell everyone when Rosh Chodesh was. Now, how would they actually go about waving these torches? Maybe in they would bring long cedar wood poles, and reeds and balsam wood and flax combings, and they would tie them with a string at the top of the pole. These make the flame very large, and then the messenger would go to the top of the mountain, and then he would light it on fire, and he would wave it back and forth up and down, until he saw his friend waving his torch on the other mountain, and then that person waited till he saw a torch being waved from the third mountain, and then there would be this torch waving procession across different mountain tops. And from which mountain did they actually start, and what was the progression of the mountains? They would start at Har Zaysim, Lisartava, and then he would wait till he saw a messenger at the top of Har Sartava waving his torch, Umisartava leGreifina, and then Umigreifina lechavron, and Umechavron leBeis Baltin, and Umebeis Baltin loizazum misham. Once we had the messenger, this person waving his torch at the top of Beis Baltin, he wouldn't move from there. El Melchu Mevi Umal Mayrid, he would be waving his torch all about. Until until all the diaspora looked like a flaming fire. This doesn't mean all of Galus, this is specifically referring to Pompadisa. Once he saw a bunch of torches being waved in Pompadisa, he knows that the people in Galus and Chutz La'aretz got his message, and then we know that everyone knows when Rosh Chodesh is. And now the Gemara just asks, "My mashma de Messian lishna de Yikod hu." What's the inference that the word Messian means burning? The Chsiv, it says in the pasuk, "Vayisa'im David va'anashav," u'mitargaminan, and Targum U'iklas translates this as the Igdin on David, and David burnt them, referring to David burning the idols that he captured from the Plishtim. So we see this word Masuais has to do with burning. And Tanar Rabban, we have a brayso in Masiin Masuais Elal Chodesh Shnir Bizmane Lekadshai. We only wave torches for a month, meaning for the moon that was seen in its proper time, meaning it was seen on the 29th, Lekadshai, in order to Mekadosh it. And for Emasai Masiin, when is it they would actually wave the torches? La'ar Iburai, that's the night before the day that would be considered the extension of the month if we were to extend the month. Meaning the new moon was seen the night after the 29th